Hello beautiful plant people, welcome back to Rooting Mindfully. My name is Ayana. So today I'm going to talk about my Alocasia collection and how I care for them, because boy, you guys had a lot of questions about Alocasias. I never thought that there would be so many questions about Alocasias, but I got questions in my YouTube comments as well as Instagram, so I figured I would go ahead and just make a video so that way I can refer you guys to this video for any future questions or concerns regarding your Alocasias. So first, I'm going to just show you the Alocasias in my collection. I only have 3 Alocasias at this moment because I was just testing them out to see if this was a genus that I could grow in my home. And so far, so good. We're doing pretty well with my Alocasias. I did have a bit of thrip outbreak with my Alocasia Friedek. I did see a couple on my black velvet, but it hasn't done as much damage on my Friedek. So you'll be able to see that there. Alright, so the first one I'll talk about, since I just mentioned it, was the Alocasia Friedek. This is mine that I got from, I believe it was Wellsprings. I also have an unboxing of this video as well to show you how big my Alocasia was when I first got it. I believe it was about this big, and as you can see, it is pretty big now. If I pull up closer, you can see a little bit of thrip damage there, and then there's a tiny bit on the leaves, but as you can see, even with having thrips, this plant is doing really well. I would have thought that it would have, kind of died back all the way, but as you can see, we still have 4 leaves. I did just cut one off. And this Alocasia, this is the main plant here where you see the big leaves, and it actually put off a pup during the summer, so this is the pup that it put off. And I can actually see a new leaf coming in here. If I hold it up to the light, I can see the new leaf coming in here. So this plant is doing really well, especially for having thrips, which are a really hard pest to get rid of. But it is bouncing back. We did use some sprays and things like that to try to get rid of them, and I don't see any here, so I think we're doing pretty well. But this plant is just gorgeous. I love the veining here and the dark leaves. If I get some close-ups, you can see that there's actually like a swirl pattern on the green parts of the leaves, but this is just a very beautiful plant to have in your collection. And as well as I haven't had too much spider mites with these plants, so I attribute that to having higher humidity in my household. The only thing I've had was thrips. So if you have a spider mite issue, just work on your humidity. The next plant I have is the Alocasia Black Velvet, and this plant is just really gorgeous. It is putting off really big leaves. If you can see that there, they're almost the size of my head, which is strange because when I see pictures on Instagram, the leaves are smaller like this one, but I didn't know that these could get this big. These also have like a nice texture and swirl pattern to the leaves. I'm really amazed at how big these leaves get because, like I said, I've never seen that before. The one thing I will say is that my petioles are kind of long, so I am working on this to get the petioles a lot shorter. I do need to give, the plant more light, and I will go over that as well in the care guide. But as you can see, I did come a lot closer here. This one is a lot longer, and I had this on the shelf. This one came out when I actually put the plant outside, so you can see that it was getting a lot more light. But I'm going to try to put these under my Sandy light to see if I can get them even shorter, because, the shorter the petiole is, the more light that the plant, it's telling you that it's receiving. So that's a good indication of that light. And the last one I have is the Maharani. This one's also a beautiful plant. The Maharani and the Black Velvet are like the jewel orchids, and they just have this amazing texture on the leaf. The leaves are a lot harder, and I find these are more pest resistant than the Friedek, but it is very gorgeous, and it also has like the swirl pattern on the leaves as well. And I also need to work on the lighting with this one, because you can see that the petiole is still pretty long, but I do have 4 leaves on this one as well. So as long as you are giving your plants enough light, they can go ahead and hang on to more leaves. So this is the last one I have, is the Maharani. Alright, so just some background information. I almost said Aglionemas. I got Aglionemas on the brain. Alocasias are part of the Eraceae family. So they are a part of the same family as like Monsteras, Philodendrons, Aglionemas, plants like that. They are more understory plants, so they don't get a lot of light, but they still need bright light in order to be able to produce various leaves. I wouldn't say they're very beginner friendly. They're kind of more like intermediate, someone who's been trying to grow plants for a while or is able to have more lighting in their house and is also more honed in with their watering as well, because these plants do not like to have wet feet. Alright, so we're going to talk about lighting. I think this is the reason why a lot of people feel like their Alocasia only can hold 2 or 3 leaves. As one leaf comes in, the other one dies. And Plant Pots and Whatnot talked about this in her video. It's not true that Alocasias can only have 3 leaves. Alocasias can hold as many leaves as possible, but the main key is to give it light. You have to give your plant enough light for it to be able to produce more leaves. And so if you see your plant and it has these long petioles, you're not giving it enough light. So like I said, this is why I'm going to try to put this under my Sansi light, and I will even put this outside in the summer because it did create shorter petioles. But once you see your plant having these elongated petioles, you need to give it more light. That's the only way it's going to be able to hold on to multiple leaves. So it would be the same thing if you didn't, as a woman, you ate 1,200 calories. Your body cannot really, function optimally on 1,200 calories. It would be the same for a man if he tried to eat like 1,600 calories. So if you were a person, you would eat more calories to be able to function at your best, at your optimum level. So the same thing goes for plants. You have to give them as much light as they need to be able to produce the results and the growth that you want. So if you see that petiole is not short enough and your leaves are tiny and it can't hold on to various leaves, you have to start by giving it more light. That's the number one thing that you have to do for your Alocasias, and that goes for any plants. So the second thing with Alocasias is watering. I do not like to keep my Alocasias moist, and I've seen this on various websites where it said for Alocasias that they like to have moist soil, but I find this is incorrect. Alocasias, they do like to be more moist than some plants. You do want to let your Alocasia dry out a little bit between waterings. I personally don't let mine dry out all the way, so if you're using a moisture meter, I don't let mine go to a 1 or a 0. I like to keep mine about a 2. So I'll wait till it's a 2 and then I'll go ahead and water it again. If you see that your Alocasia range is in the moisture portion of your moisture meter, just leave it alone until it goes more to the dry side. And when it reaches about a 2 or 3, go ahead and water that Alocasia. But your watering is going to be relative to your location, the temperature in your household. Mine stays a lot warmer and my humidity is also higher because I have more plants in my house. So I won't have to always water my plant, but I do make sure to, go ahead and stick the moisture meter in there. As for temperature and humidity, Alocasias do like a warmer temperature or warmer environment. So I would say, anything above 60 degrees is a good point for your Alocasia. They do tend to go dormant when your household is a lot cooler, and that way you won't see a lot of growth, or sometimes you will even lose a couple leaves. And this usually happens when it's about 50 to 55 degrees. You'll see your Alocasia go dormant. Mine are actually not going dormant, they're still growing, and that's because my temperature in my household with all my plants hovers around 70 to 75 degrees. So as far as humidity, if you want to keep your Alocasias happy, I recommend having a humidity of at least 60 to 65 degrees. Really, I recommend 65 degrees. That'll keep most plants really happy and keep them really growing. The higher the humidity that you can provide for your plants, the more they're going to be able to go ahead and put out growth. They're going to put out the growth faster. that humidity in the air is going to lubricate the leaves, so that way they can unfurl, and that way they can unfurl without getting like any marks or misshapen leaves. Because if you notice that your leaves are misshapen, or they're coming out with like these scars on the leaves, and you don't have any pest issues, it's usually humidity. So when you bump up your humidity, it provides that slick, coating for the leaves, so that way they can come out just without any difficulty. Because when they struggle is when they like tear at it, when it rubs against each other, that friction that produces that scarring on the leaf, or when it like tears, and then you have that like ribbing on the leaves, like for a lot of anthuriums. So if you can bump up your humidity, you'll be able to have more leaves come out, and they'll come out a lot faster, because there will be a lot less friction and things from holding it back. For fertilizers, I fertilize my plants every time I water. This is just the easiest thing for me, so that way I don't have to remember what plant is on what schedule. So I will water a diluted amount every time I water my plant. And I feel like that is why maybe my black velvet has bigger leaves, is because I, give it fish fertilizer. I do use the Alaskan brand fish fertilizer. I have it linked in my description, but I'll just pour like a little capful in there in my watering can, and I'll just water my plants water it with the fertilizer every time I water, so that way I don't have to think about it. If you don't want to do this way, you can water your plants once a week or once every 2 weeks, and that would be fine as well, and that way your plants can grow nice and big. For propagation, you can just divide your Alocasia to go ahead and make another plant. So this one here, you can see that this is the main plant, and then this is the pup that it put off. So you can just separate those two, and then you would have a new plant by putting this pup in a different pot. My black velvet is also putting off a new shoot here. If you can see this, it's putting off a new shoot there. So once it got, a bigger size, you could go ahead and separate that as well. But that's how you would go ahead and divide the Alocasia. You would just separate the pup from the mother, or get the little rhizomes that are down in the soil and separate those, and cultivate those so they can grow into a full plant. For pests, usually people talk about spider mites, how spider mites are always affecting their Alocasias. Like I said, I don't have this issue because my Alocasias are always surrounded in high humidity environment, so I don't tend to have this issue. I did have an issue with thrips, but I did, I remedied that by using insecticidal soap, and that seemed to work really well with my Alocasias. Alright, so you've seen all my Alocasias. I've given you all my tips. I'm going to go ahead and move my Alocasias to go on my Sansilite. So if you guys want to know how that goes with my Alocasias, I can go ahead and make an update video. Just let me know in the comment section below. I also want to thank you guys so much for all of the kind comments that you left on all my videos, especially on my mom's houseplant tour. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the well wishes that you gave her. It was so sweet of you guys. I just want to thank you guys for watching my videos. Please like and subscribe, and if you hit the notification bell, you will know when I post a new video. I have tons of videos coming out. I'm really excited. I just cannot wait to make my wish list video. But anyway, I will say farewell. I will put up another subscriber comment to highlight another one of you guys. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.